As you probably know, I love traveling, and while I'm traveling, of course, I love taking stills, little photo clips here and there, putting it together, throwing it up on the channel, more for myself, really. Now, one of my favorite combos over the years, and I've tried quite a few, was the XT20 with the 18-55. Absolute sweet combo. We made a video about it in Porto, Portugal, that you can check out if you want. And yeah, I always strive to get a smaller, lighter combo. Now, when Fujifilm announced the 16-80, which we're actually shooting this intro on right now, my interest was piqued. I mean, what a great range, fantastic range. F4, I mean, fair enough for travel, general stuff. I could probably cope with that, of course. But yeah, once it was out and I had it in my hands and I could see the price tag, just, I don't know, it just felt a little bit big, heavy and expensive for my personal tastes, maybe. But I think I was a little bit unfair. And in this video, I'm going to be a tourist in my own city, thanks to lockdown and not being able to travel anywhere this year. I was supposed to go to at least 3-4 countries along the way. And we'll take a look at the lens close up as well. And then we can have a chat about it in the comment section below. I want to hear what you think if you've used this lens. I may well be changing my opinion on my favorite Fuji combo for traveling, maybe. .24 to 122mm in full frame language. That's the lens fully extended. It's a nice feel to the lens. High quality plastics, I think, is the going phrase these days. It feels good. Of course, the mounts are going to be metal, as you'd expect. We've got a nice 72mm filter thread on the top. Petal lens hood there. 35 centimeters minimum focus distance. OIS and weather resistance. Weighs 440 grams. Now, looking at the manual focus ring, it's pretty smooth. It's not an amazing experience, but it's also not bad. I don't think that's what this lens is really designed for anyway. That zoom we saw in action before, it's got a decent bit of weight to it without being too stiff and definitely not too loose so as to fall out once you've selected your zoom position. And the all-important aperture ring clicks and moves nicely. I've heard that some people have had a pretty stiff aperture ring with theirs. This feels really nice, to be fair. Clicks all the way through. Hard stop at the A. Yeah, nothing more to say about that, really. Feels good, and to be honest, the lens isn't that bad when it comes to the size, you know. I mean, you're not going to pack it like this, are you? Anyway, yeah, so we just need to get out into tourist mode, as I said, and see how we get on with it, and then talk about it afterwards. As always, looking forward to your comments below at the end of the video. The lens feels very well balanced on the XT bodies that I used it on. It's very easy to use as a wandering random tourist, or even I think for landscape shooters. I didn't get to test the weather resistance much, but it looks like standard fare from Fujifilm on that front. But I'd love to hear from anybody in the comments section below that has used this lens in any extreme weather situations. The 6 stops of OIS is definitely very welcome and works very well. For some, this kind of lens will be a perfect everyday walk around option, and the build quality should really stand up for that kind of use. The autofocus is fast and accurate and gave me no problems. And if I'm honest, I didn't really use the electronic manual focusing much, but it feels like it would be fine too. As we saw before, the rings on the lens turn smoothly, but it's a shame the lens doesn't have an OIS button. You would have to turn it off in camera if that's something that you want to do. Now, Fujifilm say it's now optimized for usage on tripods without having to switch off the OIS, so that might save some of you some hassle, but is it a good reason to leave out the switch altogether? I'm not so sure. Most important in any lens consideration should always be the image quality, but oftentimes with Fujifilm gear there are no real huge surprises. But when this lens came out, the internet went into overdrive, including a lot of people who didn't actually use it at all or for anything other than shooting brick walls and charts before sending it back. From my experience, the image quality is more or less up there with the rest of the range. It isn't stellar. Zooming in isn't as good as shooting wide open, and typically stopping down to around 5.6 f8 gets you the best performance overall. But I didn't bin any shots because of poor IQ, bad sharpness or distortion, and that was shooting straight out of camera JPEGs. Everything you're seeing in this video is unedited straight out of the camera. Of course, for best corner performance, shoot raw and you should be fine. For the rest of us, for everyday fun, don't worry about it, get out and shoot. At the time of recording, this was £737.08 online, so it's not necessarily a quick buy for a lot of casual shooters, but considering the zoom range, the weather resistance, the image quality and the sheer practicality of it, it's definitely raising a lot of questions for me. Is it the ultimate all-in-one travel zoom for Fujifilm shooters? Personally, I still prefer smaller, lighter, more compact systems for traveling. I mean, do you think they'll bring out an X80 with a nice little lens converter? Anyway, if I were to take a zoom, maybe I'd be more content with my 18-55 that's a little bit smaller, obviously less range. Would I miss out? I mean, I could jumble something together from my collection, but the combined size of weight of all that would easily surpass this lens, and yeah, it's a lot of hassle. So maybe I'd suck it up and take the 16-80, and to justify the size, take it on something like an XT30. Then I'd want to take a little tripod solution, just something small, just in case. And if you're like me, you've got numerous options, but I recently got hold of something from Ulanzi, and it costs a little over £10, but it's got some details like this cold shoe mount, extra cold shoe mount, retractable legs with a nice hard stop so it won't slip away. I'll be honest, I did add the Ulanzi pano ball head, which clearly costs a little bit more than this unit, but overall very flexible setup. I'm very happy with that. I'll put links below so you can check out any of this stuff for yourself and see what you think. That's that then. I've finally been turned. I do like this lens, and yes, if I ever get to travel again, I'd be happy to take just this lens. But what about you? We started a conversation in the community section and there were some really good comments there. So I look forward to hearing about your experiences with this lens in the comment section here. Take it easy, stay safe, subscribe, and so on.